Tiz.
This is the first part. We're gonna move on to a new part in the show. It's a three-part segment. It's called Getting to Know Us, where we interview each other in our interview format. If you've seen our previous episodes, we had Uncle Curtis on for the stock information. We interviewed him, and tonight's going to be our first one, episode one. We're going to interview Tiz.
Hey, that's me.
So we'll go ahead and start it. So first of all, what's happening, Tiz?
What's good, man? How are you?
So I'm gonna ask you some questions about yourself and let it rip. Let it go.
Shoot, let's see what happens.
Oh,
So,
this is gonna be fun.
Just tell me, Pat, and the audience a little bit about yourself and who you are now.
Let's see. I am a black man who was a black baby, born in Richmond, Virginia at MCV Hospital, raised in Petersburg, Virginia my entire life from a couple of days old till I was pretty much an adult. Went to elementary school, had a pretty cool upbringing. Was definitely under the poverty line like most people in my area, but I never really felt it because my family name was kind of big in Petersburg. Like the elementary school I went to was the farm my grandmother grew up on, and her father like sold the land to the school for them to even build a school. So and she was big in the school system there, and like almost everybody in Petersburg that I ever came in contact with, it was either a cousin of mine or they were like influenced by somebody in my family, whether it was an uncle or aunt, my mom, my dad, anybody. So had a pretty cool upbringing. Was the first boy of my generation, so I was raised kind of spoiled. I definitely say the family kind of held me up as like a golden child. Was a pretty smart guy in school. Always had like super high test scores, won a lot of awards in elementary school, and was really always much been a lifelong nerd. I'd say changed a little bit fourth through sixth grade. I lost my great grandfather, who was like the first big major impact of a male figure in my life. And then a couple of years later, I lost my aunt, who kind of like was like one of the matriarchs of my father's side of the family. So them two were like super close to me. I would spend a lot of time with them growing up. So when they passed, I kind of was in a weird place. So I started like kind of rebelling around end of fifth grade, going into sixth grade. So I went from still was a nerd in the closet. Like at home, I would still be really geeked out over reading encyclopedias and just weird random shit like that. But I'd say like socially, I had a lot of issues around that time where I started to get in trouble in school. I started to fight more. I started to like not want to do my work in school. Like I kind of felt like school was beneath me at that point, because I knew a lot of times I'd be in the class and the teacher would be talking. I'd be like, I know more than you. So it kind of was a weird time. Started to get in trouble, like I said. So Mom Dukes moved us out to the city of Ettrick, the village of Ettrick, which was kind of a step up compared to Third Ward Petersburg. It was definitely a step up as far as like the neighborhood I was in. It was more of a middle class neighborhood as opposed to, just bandos and crack dealing all the time. So it was like a cool change of scenery because it kind of got me back on track somewhat. Obviously, that was where I met Face back in the seventh grade. And then pretty much the rest of my life, as far as like middle school through high school, was pretty much just a blur of just chasing girls, playing sports, having fun around the neighborhood, doing normal guy shit, I guess. Was pretty regular. I'd say the biggest thing that happened around that time, though, is I was, I was molested by older lady. And I think that kind of pushed me into being kind of crazy about girls because it kind of like hypersexualized me. So it went from like girls were just cool and I liked them to like, oh, I want this one and this one and this one. So it started like a kind of spree of whatever, just jumping on any female that was around till I was like, literally till I was an adult, like till I started like kind of like processing through some of that shit. But yeah, but other than chasing girls and, you know, sports and hanging out in the neighborhood with the fellas and, you know, wrestling after school and watching, you know, the normal TV shows, you know, I was a pretty normal kid. I'd say in high school, I started to kind of rebel harder though. Like it was like, I don't know, something just switched and I was just like, yeah, this something don't feel right. Let me just explore who I really am. And I think because of that, I kind of got into a lot of dumb shit. Definitely increased the fights more. Like I say, like maybe my junior year in high school, I started to get more into like looking for trouble as opposed to trouble finding me. Still had decent grades, had great SAT scores and shit. So I was able to still get into college. Like I didn't really suffer on the academic front as bad as a lot of people that kind of rebel. So that was a blessing. Decided to go to Hampton for college. For one, it was like a school it was like one of my top schools that I applied to. But for two, with Face going to ODU, it was like, oh, I'm still close to my bro, so that would be dope. So ended up going to Hampton. I said Hampton was probably where shit really took a major turn though. Like I just fully wilded out. Like it was no pressure no more. Like I feel like it was a lot of pressure on me. Like I said, being the only boy in my generation was a little. It was cool because I got spoiled, but it was also like, oh, you're gonna be this, you're gonna be that. Because of my like grades and stuff early on, a lot of people wanted me to like be a doctor and all of this. So it was like I always felt like I was trying to please everybody else. And when I got to college and kind of got away from my family and shit, it was like, no, I'm gonna just do what the hell I want to do. So I really didn't go to class. Spent most of the year at Hampton selling drugs because my mom didn't want to send me no money and she took my refund check. So it was like, well, these meals at the calf cool, but they got these new Jordans coming out and I'd really like some of these throwback jerseys and these Jabot jeans are really nice. So I'm gonna need a way to pay for them. So me and the little crew at Hampton kind of got together and we started hustling at what would end up being the street I lived on later on in life. But yeah, got into that pretty heavy. But that's all I did the whole freshman year. So it ended up getting me kicked out of school, basically. But because I was who I was back in Petersburg, I got a hookup from who was my preacher at the time. He also worked at Virginia State, so he got me like pretty much as soon as I got kicked out of Hampton. I got kicked out of Hampton at the end of the second semester, and then by the end of the summer, I was in Virginia State pretty easily. So didn't really appreciate the fact that I got kicked out. Like it should have been a moment where it was like, oh, snap out of it. Go ahead and just focus and do something. But it wasn't. Yeah, I went to Virginia State and pretty much picked up where I left off. I went from hustling at Hampton to now I was back home with all of my friends from that I grew up with. And I was right there with my cousins and everybody at Virginia State was pretty much people that I went to high school with or went to middle and elementary school with. So it was like I literally knew everybody. So it was like, oh, I was the man at Hampton, but I'm really the man here. All right, let's go work. So I pretty much just hustled and fought for 2 years. I stayed on academic probation. I would go to class just enough to kind of squeak by and let them keep me in there. But pretty much I rode that out for the first year and a half. Got into gangs pretty hard at that point. It was just like, oh, well, this is what we're going to do then. And I pretty much settled at that point that I was just going to be a drug dealer and a gangbanger, to be honest. It was just, this is fun. I like this. No responsibility. I just do what I want to do. But yeah, first semester of my second year, got into some shit. Didn't get caught with nothing heavy, thank God, but definitely caught a little charge that kind of spiraled out of control and went from one charge that I beat to the next charge, and they let me off on probation. And then I did some more dumb shit that kind of had the peoples at my aunt's house. And once my my aunts and like my family didn't really know what I was doing. Like none of them had talked to me in like 2-3 years since I started at Hampton. So it was like I was disconnected from everybody. I think the only person that even really knew any bit of what I was doing was Face. Like that was like the only person I really like talked to. Like at that point, my mom would even have to call him to like see, well, have you heard from him? Is he okay? So some shit got real. And I was like, okay. And I had just got out of jail on a little 30-day bid, little city jail time. And I realized at that point, you know what? I don't like jail. I ain't ready to take prison. And when my Aunt Mickey called my mom and told her that somebody had came knocking at her door looking for me, and I found that out, I was like, okay, let me get the hell away from here. So my mom had moved down to the 757 area in Newport News. And I was like, okay, well, shit, Face down there in Norfolk. I can go down here and at least I know somebody down here. I can, get a fresh start. Don't nobody really know me outside of Face down there, my mom. So I could kind of be away from every influence that was around me at the time. So I jumped on a bus and rode down and moved down to the 757. And then from there, pretty much I was working and then got tired of working at Walmart and literally went over to ODU. And then next thing I know, I was at ODU for the next 2-3 years. And then was still not doing much, but just kind of hustling here and there to make ends meet and still chasing after women every day and just going from girl to girl. And by this point, I got tired of doing that shit and that shit just got to a rut. And I was like, man, I got to do something better than this. So Face had graduated and I was still just kind of at ODU. And I was like, man, the hell with this. It's time to do something different. So I went backstage with my mom for a minute. Me and if you've ever seen Storytime with Tiz, me and Foose moved over to where my mom was living and she was about to move out. So we was like, well, we'll just stay here when you move out and just take over. Got me a little job at the Waffle House. And I'd say that's probably what changed my trajectory to finally get me to like settle down because I met who's now my wife at Waffle House. And when we started dating, she was like, yeah, the shit you're doing, I'm not okay with this. If you want to be with me, we're going to have to make some changes or you don't have to be with me. And I really pretty much fell in love with her after like our first date. So I was like, oh, hell no. Well, all right, well, let me figure some shit out. So over the next year, I'd say like, it was just spent with me like getting in trouble with her because I was still like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So I was still like going to party every weekend. And then I'd have to call her and be like, okay, so remember where you was, go pick me up around the corner from there because the police is over here looking for me tonight. So it was just like a weird little just doing stupid shit. And then finally I just got tired of that and I got serious and I got a job, a steady job, and I kept it and I just started working. And then, yeah, in '08, moved to Atlanta because she had graduated from college and she got a job down here. So I just moved down here with her. And shit been normal ever since. From then, I've been just literally just working a legit job. Got my little 2-year degree when I got here. Finally got my 4-year degree when I got here. Been working in the same career now since 2014. And yeah, now just a married man and a dad, and that's about it, man. Just chilling. But yeah, that's kind of the story of Tiz, I guess, or how I got from there to here. Yeah.
Okay. I like that full scope, full range. So, and then the whole story, what is this do you think helped shape you into who you are today?
Oh man, I say it's maybe 3 to 5. Let me see. I know the first thing that really shaped me as a person was probably growing up under my grandmother and my great grandfather. Like they were on one was on my mom's side, one was on my dad's side, but they were probably like the two strongest influences on my like the way I see the world. Like my grandmother was a teacher, so she like really just pushed education. So I feel like that's the reason why I have a love of knowledge to this day, and why like I've always been into nerd shit and just want to soak up information from anywhere, just because she kind of set me on that path. Also, I kind of got my self-confidence and the thought that I am the prize of the world. I'm not looking to nobody else for validation. Like, I'm the person that validates. I kind of got that from her because being the only boy and her only grandson, you know what I mean? She just looked at me like, you the little king, you gonna be that guy. So from a young age, I just kind of had this little confidence about myself, like, yeah, I'm the man. So I think I get that from her, from my grandfather. Like, everything I know about being a man started with him. Like, he had been married for like 40 years and was like always faithful and always had a job, always was working. He knew how to do shit with his hands. Like, he was a real man's man that just handled shit the way I respected. Like, he loved on my great grandmother. Like, and it was cool because he was like maybe 70, 80 when I was born. So like, he was already old as hell, but to just see the way he loved on his woman, even at that age, it was like, out of all the chaos in my life growing up under my mom, my dad won't ever there. Like, he was there physically. I knew who he was, but he would literally like ignore me and walk past me and wouldn't even say nothing and just go lock himself in the room and drink. So for me, like, having all of this weird chaos and watching my mom kind of struggle through some of her relationships, like, it wasn't no steady guy, but he was always just steady in everything. So like, that was probably the first thing that shaped me. Like 0 to 8, that was probably the two influences or the things that pushed me and made me, kind of molded me. And then I would say the next big thing that kind of influenced me would be probably moving to Ettrick. It showed me for the first time, like, people that had like stable households and they didn't like, it wasn't always everybody trying to be gangster or selling drugs. It was like my first sense of like, there's a different side of life that I hadn't seen yet. Oh, I could be like, I don't have to be one thing. I can be like this, and this is possible too. So it was cool to see like other people that looked like me that had that stability. So I was able to kind of soak up that and kind of start shifting a little bit as far as like not going too crazy. It's probably I would have if I stayed in Petersburg. So that really shaped me. I think the next big thing was probably going to jail. Like, because until then, like, everything was all fun and games. Everything was working. I didn't have no issues. There was no deterrent to like the dumb shit I was doing. It was like I was always getting out of it. I was always beating the case. I was always weaseling out and not getting caught here. Or like, I was always kind of escaping real consequence. So I think that like that kind of like set me down and like showed me, all right, this is the light consequence of this. The next step, you gonna either get killed, kill somebody, or you gonna be in a federal prison. And that shit, it ain't not what you want, because you don't like jail. This shit is confining to you. So you definitely don't want this. So I think that was the first thing that like really set me down. I was like, yo, I gotta do something that, like, this, okay, but this ain't it. Like, I gotta start thinking a little bit about my future now. You know what I mean? Before then, I figured I'd be dead. And then around that same time, the next thing that probably influenced me the most was like my cousin Jacoby died. That shit shook me to the core. Like, I still get night terrors about that shit to this day. And I think that was another piece of like, yo, if you hadn't have been wild, and you might have been with him and you might have saved it that night. If you had have been thinking clearly instead of doing the dumb shit you was doing, he would have been more of a priority, because he was like my little cousin. And until then, like, I always like protected him, and like when people would mess with him, I'd take the fight on. Like, so like, I think that really stuck with me for a long time and made me feel like it was my fault. So I think because of that, that was another thing that kind of made me be more accountable to the people around me as opposed to just thinking about myself. So it kind of took me out of that selfish vibe and started making me realize, like, no, you got to kind of pay attention to how what you do is going to impact the people around you. So yeah, and then I say the last thing was meeting my wife, because before that, like, I'd always gotten girls easy. Like, face to tell you, like, I don't even think we hollered at a girl for like a good 3-year run. We'd just be somewhere and just kind of sit in the right spot, and girls would just come up to us and we go from there. So like, I'd always
Yeah,
felt
so
I didn't have any woman to hold me accountable. Like I had been engaged twice before I met my wife and all that, but like she was the first female in my life, first woman that like didn't just let me run over her or do what I wanted to do and get away with it. She was like, no, you're gonna be held accountable. Yeah, like she was the first one that was like, look, I'm not gonna accept this. You can do what you want to do, but I'm not gonna accept this. So she was the first one to like made me put a standard on myself to be with her. So like it kind of shifted my way of thinking. And it came at that pivotal moment where like I was either going to get shit completely straight or I was just going to backslide and spiral. So I think that like her coming in that right moment kind of was that final piece that I needed after all those other pieces to kind of say, you know what, this is who you really want to be. So just go be that instead of doing anything else. So yeah, those are probably the most pivotal moments so far.
okay. Do you feel like you have any regrets from your past?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'd be lying if I said then. I feel like I've cut like through therapy and shit, I've come to the point where I can like accept those regrets and realize there's nothing I could do about it. Like it is what it is. I just gotta do what I gotta do going forward. But I definitely have them. I regret not being with Jacoby the night he passed. I regret um not focusing more on high school and not taking it serious. Because I feel like that would have set me up for a quicker foundation to get to where I'm at now and made my adult years a lot easier. I regret wasting the opportunities I had going to school. Like I went to Hampton pretty much on a grant. So like I could have pretty much graduated with a lot less debt and all that shit that I'm digging myself out of now. If I hadn't pissed that away, and then when I got my second chance to go to VSU, like if I had a focus then, I feel like that also would have set me up. So I got regrets. Hell yeah. I got a regret as far as some of the choices I made with ladies, especially in my youth. Like I feel like I'm okay, but I feel like I kind of messed them up. Excuse me, I gotta plug this in for my computer die. But yeah, I feel like the wake of pain that I've left women who actually probably really cared about me, like I did some damage. I know I've done some damage to them, and I feel regret over that. Um, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I regret some of the violent things that I've done in my past that I never got caught for, but I know about and that haunt me to this day. So yeah, I definitely got some regrets. Hell yeah.
I mean, most of those are natural that comes with growth. I mean, most men that they find growth when they look back on their adolescence or their young adulthood, young men, they made bad decisions or bad choices at those times. They thought
Yeah.
may have been just in the moment or wanting to do this because they was hanging with them at an older age. When you look at it with more maturity in you and more wisdom, you most likely have regrets on those. So all that definitely understand. Definitely understand. So, what do you think is the best decision you made in theory so far in your life?
Yeah, I feel like definitely choosing the career I'm in now. It's like fulfilled more of my purpose and kind of gave me that purpose that I was looking for in my life. Um, Having my son, because he can carry my last name, and without him, my last name would die after I died. So like the fact that I was able to be blessed enough to have a son, I feel like that was really a big decision to have a child. And then marrying my wife, like I feel like that completed that vision that my grandfather set when I was younger. And I feel like I've now lived up to that model and that example that he set for me. I feel like without those things, like I feel like those are like the three main things that like give me purpose on a day-to-day basis. And without that, I probably would still be aimlessly out here fucking up in the world. So yeah, definitely
Okay.
those three.
Sound like some good choice. So most people ask where you see yourself in 5 years. I'm gonna double that. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? And who do you see there with you?
10 years, okay. In 10 years, I hope to be still doing this, I hope to have made enough money where I can, from this, where it has become my new career. Um, I hope to have done well enough to retire from my current career. Um, I see myself in a new house, with this house being a rental property or some type of a residual income property. Um, I see myself teaching my son to drive. Um, I see myself, yeah, still being a family man, still doing this, but instead of my current career being my main thing, I hopefully have gotten to the point by then where this is my new thing, where us having our podcast is like my main career, and that's what I do for a living. And who I see with me, the same people that's with me now, my wife, my son, my mother, God willing, um, the buddies, like yeah, like I don't got too much change up in that. Like I feel like I got a real good foundation of like family and A1 day ones that like if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, that's who should be there with me, if that makes sense. Like so, yeah, that's about it. Yeah, you know, still rocking with the partners. Just a little bit, just a little bit better off financially.
All right. A little off the cuff question. It might be a little strange, but I'm a little strange of an interview. When you're no longer here, what do you want your message to people and your loved ones to be?
Uh, my message to my loved ones. Uh, I loved y'all. I hope that I showed real loyalty and dedication. I hope that if I was ever needed by y'all, I was there. And I hope that I've done something in my relationship with y'all that I've enhanced more than I've taken away. And other than that, I was a regular guy.
Cool. Cool, bang. Something straight from the heart. Straight from the heart to the heart. Okay. Now back on pace. What do you feel have been your personal downfalls versus downfalls you face from outside sources?
Hmm. I feel like I feel like all of my downfalls have been mine except for two. I feel like my father not being a dad and ignoring me the way he did, like he used to like I stayed with my grandmother for a good 2 year stretch where I just lived with her. And he lived with her too. And literally he would walk right past me and I'd be like, hey daddy, and he just keep walking. So just like seeing that neglect and just that almost like uh not even acknowledging my existence from him, I think that had a definitely weird impact on like how I developed as a man and how I saw the world. Even like it kind of gave me trust issues, especially as a young age. It kind of made me to the point where like I've always been independent, but for a long time I didn't even know how to allow other people to help me. It was just like I got it, I got it, I got it, because I didn't feel like I had somebody to have my back. So I think that definitely kind of affected things. But even in that, looking back on stuff, man, I look at it like it was ways I could have still thrived. It was ways I could have still got around all the downfalls I had. I feel like all of them was just dumb decisions I made, or like a lack of making a decision in some instances where like if I had just made a decision, I would have been good. But the fact I just sat in it, I allowed shit to fester for longer than it should have. I allowed traumas to build up with not getting the help I needed. When I did get help provided, um, I made choices to be shut off to where I would push it away. So it was like I put myself in every fucked up situation. So I say, but yeah, my dad and what I'm saying, getting molested, I'd say those two things, like I ain't have no real control you know, you can't control getting raped. You can't control getting neglected. You can't make somebody else do something or not do something. So I feel like those were two things that impacted me. But my choices after those particular instances, like I say 98% of my shit is me. Me. Yeah.
So, final question of the interview today. At the end of the day, if you hold the mirror up to your face and you look back in it, who do you see?
I see a Black king that is able to fully be himself in all the facets that entails. I see a Black man that is very comfortable in his own skin and is really content with who he is as a person. I see a great dad, a great husband. I see a great friend. I see a person that strives to do the right thing. And I see a bad motherfucker that you don't want to see with them hands or them pistols. Like, yeah, all of that together. I see an intelligent brother. Like, I see, yeah, all of that shit. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, this has been Volume 1, Episode 1.
Oh, man. Hey.
It's done.
I made it through the hot seat, y'all. Made it through the hot seat.
Oh, yeah. Now,
Round of
on to
applause.
the next segment.